Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani here. Hope everyone is having a fabulous day. Excited for a live Q&A. Put your comments down below. Let me know if you have any questions or you want to comment on today's health climate. Really curious to know how you all are doing. Also, if you're enjoying the content, make sure you smash that like button. Really helps the YouTube algorithm. And put your comments down below. Really appreciate it. So I'm still seeing a lot of patients that have health challenges or trying to improve their health. And of course, the question of optimizing your immune system has come up. We've talked about this a lot this last month, especially with all the virus craziness that's all out there. So, common immune basics. We've talked a lot about this in the last week, how blood sugar has a major effect, how vitamin D has a major effect, how glutathione has a major effect, of vitamin A and zinc, and a lot of these important nutrients have a really great effect. And again, we're trying to put our focus on upregulating our immune system so our body can deal with most of the issues. I always tell patients 90% of the population that are getting exposed to these kind of viruses that are out there, guess what? They're asymptomatic. So their immune system is so strong where they literally show no symptoms to the infection. And that's kind of the goal, right? How do we get you in that 90% category so your health is so robust where you don't even like stop one bit with your overall health and performance, and you're still creating antibodies. Now, overall, how herd immunity typically works, once about 60% of the population have antibodies and are no longer shedding. And when you get exposed to an infection, you're only shedding for about 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe less, maybe a little bit more on the higher side of that. So once you're past that point and you have a significant amount of antibodies, right, now you cannot pass the infection around. So once we get to that 60% point, which hopefully we're moving in that direction, and I think that's where we're at in California right now. Stanford is currently doing a study on this because they're like, hey, California only started the social distancing about 2 days after New York. That does not account for the tens of thousands of percent increase that New York is having over California. Something gives, especially with the fact that California has a significant homeless population who aren't going to be social distancing. So it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. So there's studies right now being done at Stanford to look at this antibody. IgM, IgG. I'll be doing my testing for corona antibodies in the next month when the test becomes available commercially. Right now, I think it's still in a research setting. So antibodies are powerful. Once you get exposed to an infection, if you're asymptomatic, after 2-3 weeks, you're no longer spreading it, and you can no longer get sick because those antibodies are there. And then you kind of create this buffer so this infection cannot move through the population. It's kind of getting stuck and stalemated at those people that already have the antibodies. And that's really, really, really powerful. So I want my population, my peeps, my tribe to be in that 90% category. Keep your immune system strong. Just like there's a bell curve of deaths right now, which we're basically at the top. We've been there for maybe a couple of days. The data says maybe 2 days. They said 15th to 16th of April to begin with. I said it will be less than that, and it seems to be the case. I think we may already be there today. We were at a flat line the last 2 or 3 days. Let me show you guys what I'm looking at. So on the data side here, let me just put a different window up so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Excellent. All right, guys, that's perfect. I think that may be it. All right, good. So you guys can see here the data here, daily deaths were kind of stable since the 7th, and we're kind of been flatlining a little bit, actually going down a little bit. And then you can see overall with the cases, we're totally flatlined for about 4 or 5 days, 6 days almost. So things are moving in the right direction. If we look at the COVID-19 health data, they're saying here April 11th is the peak. They said April 16th last week. I've been saying April 8th to 12th for the last 2 weeks. And again, the data that I'm using and I've been comparing to is the Italy data. And I've been just showing that we're about 10 to 14 days behind Italy. So you can see Italy's cases are dropping totally. And then you can look at their deaths, they're dropping as well. And so if you look at Italy right now, where are we at on the cascade of Italy? We're probably like right around March 27th, March 28th right now. Right in this little bit of a top to downward decline here. We're right about there. All right, and then if you guys want to look, coronavirus antibody study in California. This is the study that I was talking about that is in process right now at Stanford. New LA antibody study explores coronavirus spread in Los Angeles. They're just not see could a blood test for coronavirus antibodies be done. Californians may have developed some herd immunity, and that's what it is, right? Because the data shows that about 5,000 to 7,000 people from China enter California every day. Over 500,000 people. See, this is the Stanford team theorizing. That's the study that I was telling you about that's being done right now. And because 5,000 to 7,000 people enter California every single day from China, they've estimated about 500,000 people since all this stuff went down. So that's kind of the underlying thinking here, and they're thinking it's a herd immunity issue because the 2-day difference between California and New York does not add up. I mean, if we look at the data here, right? Let's go look at the data. And we look at California. Let's go USA. Let's look at California versus New York. Okay, let me go find that again. So if I click on USA, it should pull up all the states. I don't know why it's doing that. I think it's putting them in order of. It's just putting them in alphabetical order. There's a glitch in the system here. Try again. Let me go over here. United States. All right, let's just do this. And let's go up here, and then we'll do total deaths. Just like this. Here we go. So we have New York 7,844. We have California 559, right? We do the math on this. We do 7,844 divided by 559. That's a 14-fold difference, so a 1,400% increase. Does not add up, okay? Especially with the homeless population in California, right? 23,000 people, and a lot of the homeless people aren't following the social distancing stuff, so it just doesn't quite add up. So that's kind of some of the data that we're looking at, and I just want to put that on your guys' radar screen. Let me kind of go over and deal with a couple of questions, see if I can help you guys out today. Little girl writes in, doing NAC, vitamin C, A, D, zinc, living with someone who has pneumonia 3 times last year. He is doing all the same and nebulizing glutathione. Anything else you suggest for either of us? No, that sounds great. Outside of going out, getting some fresh air, getting some natural vitamin D. If you have access to an infrared sauna, definitely do that. Nasal rinse is causing a sneeze attack right after doing it. Is that a sign of anything? It's hard to say. I would need to know what you're rinsing, what kind of water are you doing? Are you doing a really good like reverse osmosis filtered water? Are you doing a saline solution? What kind of mineral rinse are you doing? Are you doing like a NeilMed mineral rinse? Are you doing a Neti Xlear with the xylitol? Need to know a little bit more data what you're actually doing. Shelter in place for San Francisco was 317. New York City was 1 week later. The data I looked at this morning was actually 2 days. It was a 2-day difference. That's what a couple of the articles said and a couple of the commentary I read. 2-day difference. Plus, homeless people don't follow the order, okay? I just read an article in the Statesman of Austin, and they showed a whole bunch of pictures of a lot of the homeless people in downtown Austin all crowding together and not following the order. So you can give an order, but a lot of people aren't going to be following it, especially on the homeless side. Regarding the nasal rinse, doing the Xlear xylitol rinse. So maybe there's a sensitivity with the xylitol. Maybe you want to get the NeilMed version and do that and see how that goes. But yeah, either way, it doesn't explain the variance. There's a 14-fold difference in the variance between California and New York with a higher homeless population in California. So antibody herd immunity is what Stanford's thinking about, and I've talked about it for about a month so far. Can H. pylori cause palpitations and huge anxiety, breathlessness, racing heart? Yeah, it can. It definitely can, because if you have inflammation in your gut and that kind of puts this fight or flight mode happening, yeah, that sympathetic cortisol stimulation, adrenaline stimulation can do it. Also, if you're having a hard time breaking down protein and ionizing minerals, a lot of these proteins and good fats and minerals kind of help relax you, stabilize your blood sugar, stabilize your energy. And that is going to have a huge effect on your mood and your heart. And of course, palpitations, you need potassium, you need magnesium, you need good minerals so your heart can electrically conduct. So that plays a big role too. Do you have any suggestions on a probiotic with low histamine? So in my line, we typically would use the Megaspore Biotic. That one's pretty good as it's more bacillus-based and that's lower histamine. So you can take a look at that, justinhealth.com/shop, and that is the Megaspore Biotic. So-called experts talk like the virus is still going to be very much alive in several months in many countries. Do you think so? No, I don't. I mean, we've had 2 other coronaviruses come through in the last 15 years. That's SARS and MERS. And it's not that big of a deal. It really isn't. The flu comes through every year because that mutates, and that's transmitted primarily via birds, right? We have this virus is primarily bat. So, I mean, I don't know how much of a bat issue would come about, especially if a lot of it's coming from the wet markets in China. You know, there's people in the administrative state talking about, hey, we need to ban these wet markets in China. So I don't see it being something that comes back seasonal based on what the vector is and the fact that we've had 2 other coronaviruses that we've dealt with and we haven't seen that. So people talk like that, but we don't have data to suppose that. Love Megaspore. Been using it for over a year. Great results. Awesome. Thanks, Anne-Marie, for sharing that. Okay, great. What is your opinion on unsaturated fats being pro-inflammatory? It depends on what kind of unsaturated fats we're talking about. So we have mono-unsaturated fats like olive oil. We have avocados that are mono-unsaturated. We have fish oils that are mono-unsaturated. So as long as those fats are not cooked or exposed to higher temperature where they oxidize, you're probably going to be okay. Now you have a lot of junky unsaturated fats that are going to be like your processed vegetable oils and your processed nuts and seed oils, and those can definitely be a little bit more rancid, and they're just a lot more inflammatory because the high omega-6 will create more prostaglandin E2, which is more of an inflammatory-based pathway, and a lot of those fats are rancid, so there's a lot of processing and filtration and bleaching and all these things that have to be done to make that fat taste good and look good and not smell nasty. So you have a lot of the processing in those junky fats. So of course, you know, the cold pressed, kind of no heat exposed, obviously avocados are going to be great because that's in a whole food source. Cold pressed olive oil is going to be great. And then fish oil is going to be good, especially if you're getting it from a high quality source. Excellent. How to cure repeated sinus infections. Only thing that helps me is steroids. So yeah, you'd want to do the nasal rinse. Go take a look at my nasal rinse video. So if you go to youtube.com/justinhealth, just type in nasal rinse or sinus rinse, and you will get the gist on that. A lot of times, your diet also has to be changed as well. And getting a good air filtration unit for your home and bedroom is going to be helpful. So again, I recommend the Austin Air, justinhealth.com/shop, and you can go look at my recommended products. Austin Air is great to get out a lot of the crap in the air. You should be rinsing your nose twice a day, and I typically would add in maybe a couple of drops of silver and or iodine to clean out any biofilms or any infectious debris, but that really, really, really helps. Yeah, if you're getting water in your ear, it's probably because you're probably doing a neti pot. Because when you do a neti pot, you pour it in your ear like this, and that makes the eustachian tube kind of go downhill. When you do a sinus rinse, it's just straight up and down, and it doesn't quite make its way up that way. Also, if you put some of the really good antimicrobial stuff in there, it's going to actually kill and knock down some of that debris. So you got to do it that way. Yeah, Neomed's good. Yep, that's minerals, but it won't have any killing agents in there. So you need to add, maybe you can do the Neti X Clear packets with the xylitol in there. You could do the iodine, couple drops of iodine, couple drops of silver. That helps. But the diet's also got to be changed. If you still have a not so good diet, that can be driving it as well. So you got to hit it from both ends. In your opinion, the best way to get rid of bad bacteria in your body at the moment. So diet's going to be number one. So starving out a lot of the acellular junky carbohydrates, processed grains, refined sugar, excess alcohol, any excess soda, like just getting the refined junky sugar out, leaning more on a whole food paleo-based template, and then just adjusting the carbohydrates for you. So if you have badder or more bad bugs in your gut, I always tend to lean towards lower carbohydrate, more vegetables, less fruit and starch, and then high quality fats and proteins. Lean there, and then you can always dial in or adjust your macros later. What type of best iodine for nasal rinse? I have iodine with sea kelp. Would that work? Yeah, it'd probably work. Like good potassium iodide or iodine is going to be fine. Just a drop or two in there, And you could always do a couple, like a drop or two of some silver in there as well. That way it flushes things out, cleans out any dead debris, and of course, any biofilms. And then do it twice a day. Because if you're breathing allergens in all day, the allergens just hang out up there and they just create inflammation. So you want to start your day by cleaning it out, and you want to end your day by cleaning it out, and you want to make sure you're going into a room at night when you're sleeping that has a really good air filter, so there's not going to be more allergens going in your nose at night. If you can at least provide that really good rest period where you're not breathing in all these allergens, that's going to help your nose heal. And then, of course, if you're in a room all day working, like your job wherever you work, or if you work at home, try to find a way to get an air filter where you're at. Okay, that's going to be helpful. Austin Air HealthMate Plus Regular is the one I have right in the corner there. I have the Molecule in my upstairs room, and then I also have the HealthMate Plus Junior in bedrooms for my kiddos, and I have an Air Doctor as well that works good. What supplements do you use for SIBO? So in my line, we'll use a combination of GI Clear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have different ones for different things, so it just depends. 6 and 1 will be a lot of my SIBO clearing, 4 more my parasite clearing, 3 for viruses and biofilms, and 2 for H. pylori, and then 5 for parasites and fungus. So it just depends what the goal is. All right, guys, excellent questions. Anything else I can help you out with, feel free to let me know. Glad to connect with y'all. Just remember on the whole coronavirus thing, where you see a bell curve in deaths, what you don't see is the hidden bell curve. The hidden bell curve is the asymptomatic bell curve. My whole concern is that we decided to do this whole entire social isolation, stay inside kind of thing to decrease the bell curve, right? The problem is when you decrease the bell curve, you also lengthen it this way, right? So you decrease it this way, but you lengthen it that way. The problem was we were never, ever close to any ventilator shortages. If you go look at the NEI website, we were like, let's go look at it real quick. We weren't even close. So then that kind of defeats the whole purpose of shutting down the economy and doing everything we did. I think we may have been better just getting everyone exposed, ramping up the asymptomatic rate and getting the antibodies up there within 2-3 weeks. Boom, now herd immunity kicks in 2-3 weeks versus 8 weeks, right? So we're just kind of compressing everything, and that way we avoid shutting down the economy if we could just get this thing over with. Again, that doesn't mean everyone should get exposed. If you're sick or have comorbidities, you'd want to quarantine for sure on that. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So again, this is Chris Murray's model, and again, he's proven wrong so many times, right? I mean, this model started out with, I think, $1 million to $2 million. I know the model over there in UK was at 2 to 3 million as well. Then they adjusted it to 200,000 to 300,000, then 100,000, and now it's at 60,000. And guess what, guys? I'm calling it now. This will be down, I think, to 45,000 within the next 2 weeks. I think it'll go down again. Okay, but let's go look at the ventilator use. Invasive ventilators. Boom. Okay. So we're here, okay? So you can see we're at max is 17,500 or 16,800. That's projected, okay? So you can see we have an amount up to about 36,000. So you can see we're way underneath ventilator usage. And there's some data actually showing that the ventilators may actually be causing more problems, okay? That's an issue. So you may be better off using a CPAP. We talked about some strategies the other day. If you are going to use a ventilator, highest level of oxygen, lowest level of pressure. The ventilators are damaging some of the people's lungs, causing scarring. They're like, hey, look, my lungs are all scarred. It's like, yeah, the ventilator probably did some of that because the pressure is not changing the fact that there's a low hemoglobin content because of the virus is destroying the hemoglobin. That's a really important mechanism that no one is really chatting about that much. That's where blood transfusions, that's where hyperbaric oxygen really comes into play as being a very much a positive, a plus on that one. Joanne writes in, would quinine and zinc together? A doc in Missouri saying it works together. Well, the problem with a lot of quinine, it's going to have a ton of sugar in it, right? So go look at the sugar in the Schweppes quinine. I think, what's it, soda tonic water? It's going to have a ton of sugar. So the sugar is going to really thwart your immune system. If you can get access to the quinine without the sugar, that may make sense. But of course, zinc, that's all going to be great. Really great. What would you suggest for leaning more towards vegetables than protein at the moment? Well, you should have protein at every meal. I mean, that's going to be great. Definitely good fats, but your vegetables, just look at your good non-starchy vegetables, broccoli, green beans, kale, spinach. cauliflower. All those things are going to be great. You can always steam them or saute them to make them easier for you to digest. No, I totally hear what you're saying, Kim. Totally hear what you're saying. Can't say the V word or we'll get censored here. How to resolve liver issues. First thing is, that's a loaded question. There's so many different things. But first is decrease the toxic load on your body. High quality filtered water, and then a good paleo template dialed in for what you need, whole foods, and of course, organic, toxin-free, hormone-free is going to be the way to go. That's going to be the first thing, is get that under control first, and then there's all kinds of other things you can do supplement-wise or sauna therapy or anything else to really help with detoxification. All right, guys, any other questions? I think we hit it pretty good. I got a patient I got to jump on here now. Last question, can you treat mold sickness at a distance? Since I live in Germany, is it common for people who with Lyme not to get a fever when infected with corona, but symptoms common for Lyme are similar to Herxheimer? Yeah, I mean, it's possible that you could get sick with corona and have no symptoms. That's what 90% of the asymptomatics are, right? Yes, I do see patients virtually from all over the world, and we do address mold issues. Again, we assess the mold. We can test it in the home pretty cost effectively, and then we just got to figure out what the root cause is. So I've done 2 major podcasts on that. If you go to justinhealth.com and you use the search button, you can find those podcasts, and I'm able to help for sure. Can scarring be turned around, say infected or infrared? Yeah, it definitely could be. I mean, I would probably do infrared, but I'd also do a lot of systemic-based enzymes after the fact to help with any additional scarring in the lungs. So yeah, systemic enzymes for sure. Yeah, and inflammation-wise, you could do like a lot of near-infrared and that to really help target the inflammation. But I'd have my lungs like right up against that infrared to really get that good anti-inflammatory support. My mom is struggling with health. What causes a huge bloated stomach, like 9 months pregnant, yet wasting in the rest of the body? Yeah, probably just a lot of SIBO, probably a lot of bacterial overgrowth. Take a look at my 6R approach to gut healing. Remove the bad foods, replace enzymes, acids, repair the gut lining and hormones, remove the infection, repopulate, reinoculate good bacteria, retest. All right, guys, excellent chatting with you all. You guys have a good weekend. Share this content. Comments down below. Let me know what is happening with you and your immune system and your health challenges. Really curious. And you guys have a fabulous weekend. I'll be back maybe later on. Take care. Bye.